found a marijuana cigarette on him. This is in like 1970. Crack is legal, and they're putting something new in it. I even forgot what they call that, where people's skin is rotting off of their body. Something about what you do while you're on meth. That was the name of the movie. I can't remember it, but look at Michael Jackson.
They go the other way.
After 2 or 3, he did look better, but then he kept going. He wouldn't stop.
Don't incriminate yourself. Don't, but also if you want to talk about,
you never know when you do.
If you willingly say that you have like prostitutes there, they might say something.
Oh, we don't.
You don't? Okay.
They have a motel over on 8 Mile, and I don't know if it's still there, but on top of the roof of the motel, it's got a plaster or casting of a Mexican guy with a sombrero, and he's got a donkey behind him. It's on the roof. You know what that means, don't you?
Donkey show?
No,
or
bring your own ass.
Bring your own ass.
And we used to have those green-winged macaws that I got in South America. That's a story in itself.
What is it?
Green-winged macaws in the office.
You have one?
Well, we used to. I donated them to a handicapped children's petting zoo in Cleveland, Ohio. They lived for like 100 years. When I was in Guyana, I was
You were in Guyana?
Yeah.
Were you at Jonestown?
2 years after. Some of the stuff that I had found out is embarrassing to this country. I don't know if I should say it. Stuff that they don't want to know.
I'd probably be the one getting whacked anyway.
Listen, I get on the plane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's all these short little black people on the plane, and one gorgeous, white, blonde, young, thin, sitting in a seat by herself. Now, where would you sit? She happened to be married to one of the cabinet ministers. So she's giving me some pretty good information. But I met him, and he was, I was in a restaurant, and everybody's, don't drink the water, you're gonna get malaria. And she called me over to the table. I sat down with him, and he says, drink the water, it's fine, go ahead. So I was trying to just drink Pepsi. That's all they had there for Pop was Pepsi. He was telling me that as far as Jim Jones was concerned, they had their little circus there in some of the churches. Circus meaning they had their little shows where he put chicken guts in his hand and hide them, and then he would pretend he's going into somebody's stomach, and then you pull out the guts, there's the cancer.
Yeah.
They pull that shit.
Yeah.
The president of Guyana is so paranoid that his cabinet ministers, he personally picked them to look like him. And the president of Guyana, he paid him $100,000 in cash to allow him to go into the jungle, which he didn't care about, the jungle. Level out a place that's never going to affect him. And also, Richard Nixon's wife, Pat Nixon, gave the president of Guyana a character reference on Jim Jones. That they did not want to know.
Yeah.
That nobody heard. Nobody wanted that. That was a big secret. Now you know it.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, get this. Jimmy Carter, that chicken shit pussy, he was giving the president of Guyana, who was one of the richest black men in the world. Why was he one of the richest black men in the world? Because Reynolds Aluminum from Canada, the U.S. was getting 1/5 of their bauxite from Guyana. And you have to have bauxite to make aluminum. Reynolds was mining it. When he became president, he nationalized everything. It said, you can take the clothes on your back and get on a plane and get the hell out of here. All the equipment had to stay, and he started mining it. He took over everything. Jimmy Carter is giving one of the richest black men in the world $7 million a year of U.S. money to keep him from becoming communist. Now we're starting to get El Dorado rum that was coming from Guyana. It's one of the best rum in the world, but it was exclusively sold to the Soviet Union. And all of their export and imports coming from the Soviet Union. What a jackass. In comes Ronald Reagan. It's that time of the year when he gets his $7 million, the president of Guyana. I walk off a plane looking like James Bond. 21 years old. I mean, I'd worked out for this. I'm wearing a black three-piece suit on the equator. I've got a suitcase with a 44 Magnum Ruger with a Leopold scope mounted to it because I was going into the interior. I was going to start a plantation.
You were?
That's what I went there for.
Wow.
At 21 years old. Surprisingly, my suitcase never made the plane. Oh, it's on a boat on its way here. It'll be here in 3 days. They're following me around. These little guys half my size. They're all real short.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's from malnutrition, not having milk. I don't know what the thing is. You know, they're shorter people. I'm 6'3", and you know, I scared people. They'd come up to me and then purposely insult me, waiting to see what my reaction was. And I kept a cool head. When they came to Reagan now, the new power in the U.S., and asked for their $7 million, Reagan said, "Fuck you." And here I show up. They thought I was CIA sent by Reagan, and guess what? They went to the American Embassy and asked them if I was, and they said yes. Motherfuckers. They said yes, I was. I found this out because when I tried to leave the country after 3 days, I said, fuck this, I'm getting out of here. They were following me around, giving me bullshit. I couldn't get any headway whatsoever. Now I had a belt with a zipper in it, and I had $3,000, all $100 bills, hidden in the belt. Our money is worth 9 times their money. Okay, so I gave a cab driver $50, which is like $450.
Yeah.
This is back in 1981. I said, meet me here at 3 o'clock in the morning. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm hiding in a bush in front of the Pegasus Hotel, waiting for this cab driver to show up to get me to the airport, because I kept going to their Guyana Airways in town and asking to get a ticket, use my ticket to come back. But they said, no, you can't. The plane's all full, every seat's taken. So I said, bullshit. So I'm hiding in the bushes, waiting for this cab driver to take me to the airport. But first I wanted to stop and get these green wing macaws. And their houses are on these telephone poles because it's below sea level. Dam they have sometimes would leak and the streets would flood. That's where their houses were. You go up these steps. Well, this lady, who was a bird broker, they called her, she had the whole outside of the telephone poles under her house lined with chicken wire. And inside she had monkeys, toucans, macaws, and she had hyacinth macaws. You know what the hyacinth is? And they had a hyacinth stand with its feet on a table. And I didn't realize it. I mean, I'm standing here and I'm talking to her about how do I get these two? I want a male and a female. I want to get them back to the States because then, you know, I can maybe, you know, offspring and sell them and that kind of, at least get something out of this, you know, because I'm getting the hell out of here. So I'm back up like this and I'm talking to her, and this thing's right here. I didn't see it when I first came in. And I turn around and I'm like, what the fuck is that, man? Face was as big as yours with a big beak on it. Eyeball like this. Its tail's touching the floor and its head's up here. I went, oh my God, I never saw anything like that. Scared the shit out of me like a dumbass. I didn't buy it. I should have bought that.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I'm really not sure what happened, but I said I want a male and a female. And she says, well, the only way to tell for sure is you have to wait. And if they try to start feeding each other with their beaks like this, there's male and female. And you can put your finger in there and they're real nice and calm and, right? Okay. Normally, they're $100 a piece, but since it has to be expedited so quickly, they're $250 a piece. Fuck you, right?
Yeah.
I woke some guy up out of bed. He comes over, he just takes a rubber stamp and hits it. Didn't give a shit. It was just like, so they had probably learned when it was a colony that this is the paperwork. The paperwork probably doesn't even go anywhere. Anyway, so now it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm at the airport and I've got the 2 green ring macaws. And I think that's what saved my ass. And I tell them my name and they looked, and as soon as they saw my name, these 2 guys behind the counter looked at each other and they went, the one's petting the birds like this, and they're, you know, he's having fun with them. He's, you know, and I'm talking to him, trying to start a rapport with him. He says, "Oh, we don't have any seats available." So the guy that's petting the birds, he says, give him a seat." You know. So they said we have to put the birds in the belly of the plane. You know, I wanted to take them, put them on a seat or something. You know.
Yeah.
Now the plane was supposed to take off at 6:30, and it's like 6:40. When I was on my way to Guyana. I got to the airport in Miami 5 hours early just to make sure that there were no problems. And my suitcase doesn't make the plane. My suitcase was the first one on there, you know? And when I was talking to some other guy on the plane and he said, you're going to Guyana? Georgetown, Guyana? He said, you don't want to go there. He said, what the hell are you going there for? It's the only English-speaking country in South America. I just got my pilot's license. I was going to clear a runway. And I was going to grow tobacco at first, because coffee takes 5 years to mature. You have to have an elevation between 2,000 and 6,000 feet in that same latitude to grow coffee. And that was my intent. They don't have coffee in Guyana. This was my plan. Didn't work out. The plane is late. I'm thinking, I'm not gonna make this plane. So I just said to the guy, hey man, get me on that goddamn plane. So he's running me down the hall. They have a guy with a a rifle. The last guy gonna get past, he says, do you have any U.S. currency on you? I'm thinking, fuck, I got that $3,000 in my belt. I don't want to be sitting in some Guyana jail. And I gave him the belt. And the guy's looking at his eyes are getting this big because our money's worth 9 times theirs.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, look, you hold my money for me, okay, will you? And give me a receipt for it? He gave me a receipt for it. I said, can you stamp it with the Guyana, Airways stamp that you gave me this receipt? And as I'm running to the plane, here comes a Soviet Lada limousine, and it's one of the cabinet ministers. He was late for the plane, and if he hadn't been late for the plane, I wouldn't have made that plane. I'm running up the steps, and he's right behind me. And I hear one of the Dutch pilots, as smart-assy as he could, say, it's really nice of the cabinet minister to grace us with his presence here. We've been waiting for 45 minutes. And I think, thank God. I was way out of my league. My intestines were telling me that.
Yeah, your gut, yeah. Telling you get out.
I mean, actual intestines. But I hadn't relieved myself in 3 days. Guess who was getting that? The plane. On the way back to Miami, I was in that bathroom for 45 minutes. And I just remember opening the door and seeing all these mad people giving me disgruntled because there was only one bathroom in the plane. And they're all giving me these nasty little looks because you're in there so long. And I thought, lady, you ain't gonna like it in there. I go over and sit in my seat and I'm like, oh my God, wow. I just want to get back. I'm never leaving the U.S. again, ever, never will I ever leave here again. You start to see the bottom tip of Florida. I'm like, oh my God. I felt like the Pope. I'm gonna get off the plane and kiss the ground. The plane lands, all these people that were giving me those nasty looks, they all stand up and get in my way. I'm thinking, all they got to do is close that door and take off again.
Yeah.
This plane is stopped and that door is open and I can't get to it.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I was midget tossing.
You were just tossing them aside,
Tossing
running right
people
through
out
there.
of the fucking way.
Were they about to close that door?
To get to that fucking door.
Yeah.
Before they closed that door, man, I got out that door and I ran down those steps. And I went to customs. I told them, don't you ever go to Guyana. He says, I've heard of that a lot. You're not the only one that said that. Okay, now, birds have to go into quarantine for 2 fucking weeks. Send them to Detroit. Well, so I went to go pick them up in Detroit. I swear to God, those were not the same 2 birds. They were not, man. They were mean motherfuckers.
Oh.
They looked the same, but they were mean.
Probably fucking with the birds for 2 weeks.
They were fucking mean, man. You couldn't put your finger in the butt. And they got 300 pounds of square inch per pressure that they can crack a wall on. To me, those were not the same 2 birds. I got these birds for 20 years, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And I got them in the office at the motel.
Did they get nicer?
No. No, they never got nicer. They used to break the welds, that's how strong their beak was. And then they'd pull the cage apart and they'd get out. I ran over there and the desk clerk's outside, he won't go in. And the bird is on the desk clerk's chair on the headboard of the headrest of the chair, standing there like he's the desk clerk. I go, shit, I gotta grab this little bastard.
Yeah.
And they would stick their heads out of the cage and they would take turns going, wah, 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 wah. And if they found a sucker desk clerk, they'd start that shit when the desk clerk's trying to eat.
Yeah.
So he'd have to share his lunch with him. One of those birds was standing on the perch. It had its other little, what do you call it, talon, whatever, holding onto a chicken leg and eating a chicken leg. I was like, that bird's eating a chicken leg. Oh my God. After 20 years, I donated them. They would not make any eggs. They would not do it.
Wow.
They used to call us the birdhouse. We're going to the birdhouse instead of the flamingo. I mean, people would come in and some of these people would say, oh wow, look at the flamingos. I'm like, oh, you an idiot.
That was freaking awesome. I might just...
You didn't film any of that?
No, I did.
He did.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I heard the story started. I'm like, all right, I'm just
Yeah, start filming it. I had a cop.
Oh, this is great. I want to hear cop stories.
Yeah.
Wait, let me...
Cop of the birds.
Let me introduce... Wait, Cop and the Birds?
Yeah.
Tell the Cop and the Birds, and then I want to introduce you, and we'll actually get this officially official, okay? Does that sound okay?
It's weekend night, we're busy. I've got a woman coming from, I don't remember which room, say room 10. She's walking up to the office, and she's drunk. Mm-hmm. She's wearing a dress, nylons, nice shoes. I mean, she's dressed well, like they just came back from going out, right? And she's drunker now. She comes in the office and she says to me, my boyfriend's being mean to me, Can you go down there and tell him to be nice to me? I said, no, man, you gotta go back to your room. She says, well, they're just drunk as hell, and she's preventing us from being able to run a business in the office there. And I don't know if she was looking for a threesome or what the hell she was looking for, but I wasn't into that, and I had got work to do here, and she wouldn't leave, right? I was like, lady, you gotta go to your room. You can't wait in here in the office. Well, I just gotta stay here. And guest would come in, and she's like, you know, my boyfriend's being mean to me. And he's like, lady, I just want to get a room.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
She's disturbing business, right?
Yeah.
I said, lady, if you don't go to the room, I'm gonna have to call the police. She said, really? Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And I called the police. Should have never did that. Should have never done that. I didn't know how else to, get her the hell out of there. Maybe they could reason with her, Cops have changed, okay? There was a Supreme Court ruling because cops used to have to be at least 6'2", or you couldn't be a cop, and they changed that. So now you got all these little guys with Napoleonic complexes, attitudes. They were bullied, now they want to do it back again. They see a bigger guy than them and they want to get revenge. Hey, well, I had one of those come in.
Yeah.
A little short, fat asshole.
Oh, so this was recent then?
No, this is when I had the birds.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I was a young man.
Yeah.
I had the bird cage in the corner, and it was shaped like an octagon, and it was sealing the floor. The cop walks over, and he's got his back to the birds, right? And he's telling the woman, well, let me see your ID. And she's standing here like this, and she's pulling out ID, and well, I guess she pulled out the wrong one. So he goes to grab it, and the birds are right behind him, right? And she says, oh, no, not that one. And since she said that, now he wants to see that one, right?
Yeah.
So he's pulling, and she let go, and he lost his balance.
Yeah.
And it's late at night, and the birds are sleeping. So he lost control. Bam! He hits the cage, oh shit, and he regains his composure. But when he hit the cage, both of those birds screamed bloody murder, like somebody's being stabbed and killed, right behind him. He freaked out. He grabbed that woman, and this was wrong. And he took her arm and pulled it right up behind her back, and he yanked it up really high, and she went, oh, she's screaming. And she dropped to her knees, and she's got nylons on, and he's dragging her out of the office, across the asphalt to throw her in the back of the police car. And her boyfriend sees this. He comes running up. All he's wearing is a pair of jeans to try to get him to stop, and they arrest him. And I thought to myself, what the hell did I do here? All I did was call these assholes. But I remember back in the day, before that Supreme Court thing, some of these cops would have to duck to get into the doorway. And since they were big, they didn't have that complex. I remember I had a guy coming into the desk, on the front desk, and he was acting like he was retarded. And I said, sir, I'm sorry, but you have to leave. Give me that shit. I call the cops. This great big cop comes in, and he does that to him. He says, let me see your ID. Trying to pretend. I thought, what would be the purpose of that anyway?
Yeah.
So he says to the guy, come here, you. I was buffaloed. I didn't know. I thought there was something mentally wrong with him.
Yeah.
That's why I called the police.
Yeah.
I told him there's something mentally wrong with this guy in the office, and he won't leave. So the cop came in, and he asked him for his ID. He pulls that same shit with him. He says, come here, you. And he grabs him like this, right?
Yeah.
Takes him outside. I go, oh, I got to see this. He took him around the corner where nobody could see, and I was hiding, so he couldn't see me, so he could do his thing, thinking he was secluded, right? Nobody's watching. And he backed him up to the brick wall, and he asked him one more time. The guy pulled that same shake again, and he grabbed him like this, pulled him to him, and he went, bam, like that. The guy's head hit the brick wall, and you could hear it in the office, like somebody took the sledgehammer and bam on the wall. That guy said, oh, here's my ID, sir, here you go. He sobered up, well, not sobered, but he became normal like that. And I looked at that, my jaw dropped, and I thought, oh my God, what was the point? I'm just saying that they used to take care of it right then and there.
All right, let's. I'm definitely posting that shit. Let's call that a fucking wrap real quick, and then I'm gonna actually call you out, and we'll restart this thing.